The all-powerful Whitebeard pirates lost their captain in the Battle of Marineford 2 years ago, and his right-hand man was Marco. After the loss of their scattered pops, the remainder of the crew waged war against Blackbeard to avenge their captain, but it was in vain. They're now scattered far and wide to parts unknown. Scene started in the New World. You can't believe how good the Cat Viper is. When it comes to sailing the seas. Mink's guardians are chatting with each other. So, how long are we supposed to wait at these ruins? Until he comes back with Marco the Phoenix. He wanted Ugara to wait here because you look too scary. Is Marco really the kind of guy my face is gonna scare off? I'm talking about the village, fool. Don't go over there. Scene shifts to Marco. Marco is healing the injured ones. Marco is telling them that they are all good to go now, but not to be reckless as his regenerating flames have a small effect on others. Then a little girl says, "Thank you, Marco." After that, some more people came to Marco to get relief from their body pain, and one little girl says, "My little brother is playing pranks, Marco." Cat Viper is not looking in a good mood. Scene shifts where Marco and Cat Viper are sitting together and having a conversation. Marco says, "Pops built this village." Cat Viper says, "Old Pops Whitebeard did? What do you mean?" Marco says, "Countries that can't join the world government because they're too poor to pay the heavenly tribute tend to be lawless islands, by and large. Suffering from pirates and slavers run amok. When the country collapses, it creates a fresh generation of orphans, and Pops was one of them. He went to sea at a young age and became a pirate, but he always cared for this place, and secretly pumped dirty money and supplies into it all throughout his life. He never had a family, and his old friends are gone, but this island will always be his home." Cat Viper says, "In a dirty world, there's no good or bad money. It's just money." Marco says, "Thanks for saying that. After the Battle of Marineford, we at least wanted to protect this village Pops had cared so much for. When Blackbeard invaded, we started the grudge war against him. But with Pops's power at his command, we couldn't overcome Teach anymore. He took everything. Oh, how I wanted to make that ingrate pay." Cat Viper says, "I think I see what you mean. So this is kinda like a final memento of your Pops, huh?" Marco says, "Yeah. Red Hair put his grave not too far from here." Marco got emotional and says while wiping his tears, Pops was kind of a cheapskate, you know. He always wanted other people's drinks. He never paid the whole tab at a restaurant. But we were okay with it, because we knew he was putting his entire share of the treasure into this place. Then they started discussing about a person named Weevil. Marco says, "By the way, there's that warlord named Weevil going around, calling himself Pops's son and attacking anyone related to the name of Whitebeard." Cat Viper says, "Oh yeah, is that true? I can't comment on his history with women, but this guy seems to want an inheritance." Marco says, "And I don't think he'll take 'there isn't any' for an answer." Cat Viper says, "Well, I can see why you wouldn't want to leave then." Marco says, "Weevil's mother, Buckin, is a former pirate, 30-something years ago, close to 40. She would have been on the same ship as Pops." Cat Viper says, "Then maybe you've got another memento of his to protect." Ha ha ha, they're certainly not acting like it. After a while, Marco says to Cat Viper, "If you're going to meet with Straw Hat Luffy after this, I've got a message to send along." Cat Viper says, "Of course. I'm all ears." Scene shifts to the land of Wano. A voice came from behind. Hey, new guy. Izzy's your work up here, huh?" Frankie says, "You bet, boss. Is there a problem?" Carpenter boss, Minatomo says, "You got that right. It's perfect with a capital P. I'm paying you a compliment, so take it, you scoundrel." Frankie, who changed his name as Franosuke, says, "You bet. Much obliged, boss. Ya cantankerous old coot." Scene shifts to Usopp. Usopp has also changed his name in Wano and now known by toad oil salesman Usohachi. He is standing between the crowd and selling toad oil with his unique lies. Scene shifts to Robin. Robin is disguised as a geisha named Orobi. She is performing as a geisha and trying to receive a summon from the Shogun's chamber. Now a past scene appears where Kinemon is explaining some important things about Wano to Zoro, Robin, Usopp, and Frankie. Kinemon says, "Listen closely. The Shogun of Wano is named Kurozumi Orochi, and the officials who do his business all have ties to Kaido. Thus they are arrogant and corrupt. But if you should harm them, the news will make it to Kaido's ears. We must not allow our existence to be known until our allies can assemble, and the preparations for battle can begin. First, You must pass yourselves off as locals and quietly, go about your duties. In the town area people are talking. His lordship the magistrate has caught the crossroads killer. The rogue samurai will now be forced to commit seppuku. Thank goodness. His reign of terror claimed 3 nighttime victims just this month. Oh, how I hate him. That terrible crossroads killer cut down my husband in his prime. Scene shifts to Zoro, now called as Ronin Zorojuro. Crowd still talking. The populace has been terrified of your carnage, crossroads killer. Not only will this restore peace, but it seems we've caught a grave robber as well. 23 years ago, in the midst of a pirate upheaval, we lost the remains of the legendary swordsman Ryuma, and his blade, Shusui. The boss of the crowd says while holding the sword Shishui, "But crossroads killer, you do not look so old. Did you extract this from the theft?" Here Zorojuro is being called as crossroads killer. Ha. One wonders how pristine its bite is. In my hands I hold the great Shushi. The person standing beside Zorojuro says, "This knife's got no hilt." Verily. A seppuku blade is short and has no hilt on purpose. It's not for fighting, you don't need one. You do know how seppuku works, don't you? If you have any samurai pride at all, admit your crime. And make amends with your death. My role is to lop off your head when you're done, so you don't suffer. Zorojuro says, "Well, in that case, so long." The boss says, just don't wail and blubber. The samurai's true worth is in his end. We have witnesses. We have evidence. This death gives you far more dignity than you deserve. Rejoice in your seppuku. A song starts in the background. The boss says, "I can smell blood." And it says you're the killer. Zoro stands and slices the boss along with the house where he was sitting. Crowd says shockingly, "What? With the seppuku blade?" Zoro says, "I'm sorry, Kinemon." And here the chapter ends.